Afternoon, all you happy people out there in YouTube world. I thought I would make a quick tutorial on how to use the Turing Playground little add-on, this little source that I've made. This creates the Turing pattern, which is a pattern that basically both adds and subtracts at the same time, and it creates these random patterns. The random patterns are created through a noise that's going on behind the scenes. In Wire and in basically how this works is that you're basically blurring the lines of a noise so much to the point to where it's almost not able to be seen as a noise anymore. It's very fuzzy and very blurry, and then you sharpen it, and then basically what you do is you reverb itself on reverb, or you basically create a loop in the wire patch that basically creates the same thing over and over and over until it creates these clear delineations between the black and the white. So if you want to know more about the actual Turing math behind it, there are plenty of wonderful tutorials online I would strongly suggest looking into to learn more about the actual how Turing is made. However, here is the Turing and how it's set up within Avenue or Arena. It's also available. It's open. It's an open file, so you can go into Wire if you have Wire and play around with the nodes within inside Wire if you so choose to. But I just wanted to kind of go through quickly a rundown of how it works within Avenue and Arena. So here we have the Turing Playground. We have, if you click the drop down back to the roll up the noise, we have the noise density, and we also have the fractal speed. The fractal speed is how quickly the noise is moving behind the scenes. There are two noises that are basically being put together, and then after that, there's going to be basically that once they're put together, then they oscillate. And so that's what this is doing, is it's basically creating that oscillation file. It's not necessarily going in any kind of pattern. It's actually an accumulation, so it just continually counts up forever, indefinitely. The chances of hitting the end of that accumulate is it's almost impossible, is what I'm being told. So in any case, let's go through some of these settings here. So the noise density is how dense that noise is. I don't know if you can see it, but as I'm moving in and out, it may show up that you can actually physically see. It almost looks as if the pattern's getting smaller, sort of. You're not going to be able to see it, but basically there's this noise pattern is shrinking. It's a 1 to 10 scale, so it's not a very big, gigantic, move. However, if you're, at the very beginning of that noise density, it's going to be a very large cloud field, if you will. So if I hit reset, you'll notice that there's larger lines. And if I, remove if I go all the way to the other end and I hit the Turing reset, it should be almost instantaneous, and you'll notice that it's already in the smaller batches of patches of areas that are the Turing pattern has already basically been created. So there's a couple things here you can use to kind of adjust the speed. For instance, you can also, if you don't want any speed at all, you just wanted the pattern itself. I've basically, there's an option for that. The noise phase, I'm just going to put a little bit of speed on this, not in a crazy amount, but just enough to kind of have it change by itself randomly. And then you have the option for noise phase. So the noise phase is to basically, if you're at 50%, you're basically 50% one set of noise and the other set of noise. I've merged them together. At 50-50, you're getting both of them together. At at 1, you're getting 1, or 0.1 or 0, you're getting one side, and on the other side. The reason why I did this was because I was thinking, well, technically you could create a timeline and you could have them bounce between each other. And so then you get this kind of fractal that's changing, bouncing back and forth between the two options. And so that could be another way of creating very similar to the fractal speed, except for you're creating like a bouncing between one noise to the other. So that could be visually interesting if you hiked that up. You'll see more of that bounce back and forth as if the pattern should be relatively close to what it was before, right? So that was the reason for that. There's also, I'm going to take that off real quick for just 1 second. You also have your Turing reverb. This is basically where the pattern is being recursively redrawn upon itself, right? So if I shrink this down, you'll notice that the pattern kind of breaks up, if you will. If you reset it, you'll notice that it automatically kind of wants to naturally kind of shrink up, right? But as you increase this reverb, you get more like the pieces, the stems are actually connecting to each other. This is starting to look more like a coral reef, for instance. So a lot of these options, when you play around with them together, you get all kinds of different results, and that was the beauty of this, right? So if I change the blur distance, right, now you're starting to see that the patch is where these pieces of the Turing are actually getting tighter and tighter, right? So if I increase the Turing, you'll notice that now it's almost as if they're now creating like just black patches with lots more white, versus where if I bring it down, okay, and then I change my sharpen distance. If I shrink my sharpen distance but increase my blur distance, excuse me, the other way around. If I decrease my sharp distance, let me bring it back. You'll notice that, okay, so here's Turing reverb. That's the reason why my Turing reverb is down, excuse me. If I increase the blur distance and the sharpen distance, now what's going to happen is you're going to get thinner and thinner lines, and they're also going to start like when you take down your blur distance and your blur amount, the edges are gonna start to really fill in, and it's gonna look more like lines, right? So you're gonna get this kind of lined pattern as you get closer and closer together. If you take down the sharpen distance, it really fills in those areas, as you can see, right? And so if I hit Turing test, you'll notice that it fills in a different way. And that's because your blur distance and your sharpen distance are closely related. So if you increase one, it'll affect the other, right? So if I increase the blur distance and I increase the blur amount, you'll notice that now I have a smaller pattern, right? But then you also notice that I still get like looser pattern than I did here, right? So if I increase that blur amount, I have smaller patches, but they're like more like noodles, right? So that's kind of how the Turing pattern works. It creates all these kinds of nice little bits and pieces. I really liked how this was created because I started thinking this could be visually interesting as a mask, and that is one of the things that you could use this for, right? You could, in theory, take this and just use this as a mask for something else. So now you have this pattern being created. You could do like on the foreground and background. So I could move, like, for instance, halftone motion down back below the alpha channel bit that's being created from the Turing pattern. So now I have this yellow and red that's being is the Turing itself, and then you're able to see the halftone motion behind it, right? So I thought this could be visually interesting. There's all kinds of crazy things you could do with this. So that was the premise behind this, is that I thought the Turing pattern is just, it has its own beauty, it has its own uniqueness to it. It creates a random pattern. It's just a new way of playing around and fiddling within Resolume, Avenue, and Arena. Also, you have this black and white slider here. This actually expands the black and white. So if there may be cases where you might want to be like, the Gaussian amount, you want this kind of look instead, right? Where you have just these random patches of black and white. And what you could do is you could increase that or decrease that as you see fit. Or let's say you didn't like that, you wanted this in reverse. Of course, you can click the reverse button, and now you have these black lines that are being created over the white blotches, right? Or entirely, you could change the color if you so chose to. The reset Turing down at the bottom is sometimes you want that reset, right? To kind of refresh what you see within your Turing pattern. So if I created, like if I shrunk down the noise density and I created a noise phase and then I hit reset, you're going to see it's an entirely different thing, right? But now you see this kind of coming into play where now the patches are much, much, much longer. This how it randomly generates it is more of a long, elongated random generation of a line with these smaller like groupings of little bits of circles, right? So it really has it's just for fun. You tinker with it as much as you want. There's all kinds of crazy things you could do. You could set this up on a timeline, right? So now it's just bouncing. You could have it bouncing between black and white. So it creates these patterns and then it just rehashes it all together. Back and forth and back and forth. And so that was the premise behind it. I hope you guys found this interesting. Give this a like and comment, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think, because I'm very interested in how Wire works, and I'm also interested in all kinds of different graphics effects. I'm always creating new patches. Some of them are available on JuiceBar. Some of them are free, of course, like this one. I'm really trying to find myself in this digital world, this brave new world, if you will. Give me a like, comment, subscribe. If you have questions, comments, concerns, complaints, let me know all of it. You can email me at any time. My email address is jacobmesick@gmail.com. Last name is Mesick, M-E-S-I-C-K, just as it sounds. All right. Well, thank you very much for watching, and I appreciate it, and I'll talk to you guys next time.